Alright, so me need you to come in and tell me if the video alright. One more time. It's audio. Alright, so hey guys, welcome. I'm gonna be sharing how I got into mission pilot training. It's a long story, but I just decided to do this live feed because I posted something on Facebook this morning, and I think someone is not understanding exactly what I'm trying to get across. So I'm basically going to be sharing how I got into mission aviation with you guys. I'm at school. I don't have an airplane, but I'm in one of the classrooms. I have a lesson today at 2 o'clock, so I only have maybe about an hour and a half to spare. So here goes, all right? So basically, as some of you might know, I've been in the Philippines as a medical missionary since 2011. And you know, being over there, I visited different portions of the Philippines, and I remember one of the 1 month training we did was in a little island, well, Luzon, one of the big islands, and we were about 9 hours bus ride from Manila. And we were assigned there to give a 1 month training. So my wife and I at the time, we weren't married, so we were assigned as two of the teachers to help train this aviation ministry, how to incorporate the health message and health, like natural remedies, into their aviation program. So it's Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services. They conducted the training at an Adventist hospital, so we had doctors who were coming in, nurses, some of the secretaries, and even regular church members were invited. So that's where I met that aviation ministry, and then I just fell in love with them ever since. I went back to Jamaica 2011, the December 2011. Came back to the US, then went back to Jamaica for 2012. Then I got married in 2013, June 2, 2013. I got married, and I'm back in the Philippines as a missionary again. And in 2014, I visited the air base for that aviation ministry for the first time. So when I went up there, I saw the airplanes. I met with the president, and we were talking. So I said to him, I have interest in learning how to fly and become an aviation, you know, a missionary pilot. So he gave me the history of the aviation program, and he said that, you know, in the past, they would train students, like take people from scratch from the church, and they would train them. They would get their license and everything, and then they would change. They would go off to fly commercially for airlines and so on. So as a result, the ministry was somewhat burnt, and so they didn't have the finance and the resources to continue to offer training. So, you know, he gave me a textbook and a platter. I should have had a platter to show you guys, but he gave me those things, and he said, you know, pray about it, and if the Lord is leading, then, you know, you should come and join us. When I looked at the fact that they don't offer training anymore, I'm like, I can't afford this. This is gonna be just too expensive. I cannot afford it. So I was hesitant, and so I did not pursue it, and I literally sat on that thing for 1 solid year. And I remember 1 year later, my wife said to me, hey, so when are you going to go chase that dream of becoming a missionary pilot? And I'm like, you know, we can't afford it. You know, I'm in the Philippines as a missionary. I'm not employed. I don't get a salary or a stipend. I'm just out there literally by faith. At the time, she was working as a music professor in an Adventist college. And so, that helped to cover some of the bills. And then I had a friend who was sending me a donation of around $300 on average each month. So that was my only source of income. And so I'm like, we can't do it. I cannot afford it, and so on. So, long story short, I started a GoFundMe. No, actually, before that, I went down to a school. I went to a school in the Philippines, at the airport close to my home where I was living. Went to the airport. They had a school, and I went in and I inquired and I talked with the president for 5 minutes. I was there with him in an interview in his office, telling him I would like to get my pilot training. And I told him I'm not going into the airlines. I want to learn it specifically for learning to fly for medical evacuations. And so he said, okay, we offer training. And he said the tuition, I think, was like $8,000. And I said, okay, what if I don't have that? What can you guys do for me? And he's like, okay, if you give me, if you give me 50% of that 8,000 prior to enrollment, you can do half of the course, and then you pay the other half, and then you will get your license. So I'm like, okay, I'm in the Philippines fully doing medical missionary work. My only source of income is $300 per month. So how am I gonna get 8,000? I started a GoFundMe account, and it was there for months and months and months and months, and we only raised $50. So I was like, not gonna happen, right? I said to the president at the school at the time, okay, how else can I get this training? And he said to me, okay, I will remove the tax from your tuition, because seeing that you want to do it for ministry, I'll remove the tax from your tuition. So and I said, okay, how much is this tax? When I took my calculator and I calculated it, believe it or not, the tax came up to $1,000. So basically, by removing the tax from the tuition, he just gave me a $1,000 discount on my aviation training. So that's why it was 8,000. It's actually 9,000, but with the tax being removed, I would only pay $8,000, and I could do it in 2 payments. So I wasn't able to raise that money being over there in the Philippines, and in 2015, my wife and I came to the US to raise that money to go back to the Philippines and take that training. So we came here, and we've been trying to go to different churches, share a mission report, raise funds here, raise funds there. And we were just not able to come up with that amount because, we were living here, moving from one house to the next. And since 2015, we've moved to more than 20-something different homes, like about 20-something different times, maybe 15 or 16 different homes. You name the state, we've been there. We've been in New York, we've been in Alabama, we've been in California. We've even found ourselves in Texas at one point, Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, so we've just been going wherever there's a home vacant enough for us to stay there. And so I decided, okay, someone suggested, why not take your training in the US instead of the Philippines? Because, doing it in the Philippines, there's more. Philippines doesn't have as much radar coverage. The technology is not that advanced. So if I do it in America, I'll get more of a comprehensive training. So I said, okay, I'll do it in the US. But here's the catch. I need to find housing. I'm going to have to find the tuition, So I said, okay, my first stop is going to be, and this is why I'm making this video, how am I going to find a school? So I'm here as a tourist, and I'm going to need to change my status from tourist to become a student. I have my wife with me, and so first knock is going to be, let me find the Adventist schools that offer training in aviation. So my first stop was Andrews University. When I contacted Andrews University, they do have an aviation program. When I contacted them, they said, okay, in order to have a change of status from tourist to become a student, to issue you an F1 visa and an I-20, you need to show us $56,000 up front. I was like, whoa, seriously? $56,000 up front for the first year, which is, it's a degree program for 4 years. Now, the requirement that I need to do mission aviation in the Philippines is a private pilot license and to be instrument rated. Those are the two requirements that I need. Why do I need to take aviation for 4 years if all I need is a private pilot's license and to be instrument rated? That makes no sense. So I was trying to work with them to say, okay, this is why I need my license, and this is what I'm going to be doing with it, and I'm a Seventh-day Adventist wanting to do it for ministry. Do you have a program for me? They said no. And long story short, I tried to get sponsorship of someone who could sign a paper to say, okay, I have this amount in my bank account so I can vouch for you in writing. When my brother-in-law was able to sign that paper for me, but you know, his bank statement was somewhat a little outdated based on what they wanted. Not only that, the person doesn't need to just sign a paper and show a bank statement with at least $56,000. They need to put in writing that they will subsidize my training. So it's not just, I have $56,000 in my account, here's a statement, and I'm gonna sign the paper for this person. Yeah, it's Joey. Hey, Marius. So I said, okay, so I contacted I'm talking with the treasurer now and people at Andrews University, and I found out that not only does someone need to have $56,000 and send me their bank statement and I forward it to the school, but they need to put in writing that in case I cannot pay for this, they will vouch for me. So my brother-in-law wasn't able to do that. He has his family and so on. So long story short, Andrews University cannot help me to change my status, become a student, and help me to pursue my mission aviation training. So I pick up the phone again and I called Pacific Union College. They also offer an aviation program. I told them who I am, why I want to get into mission aviation, and they were like, okay, in order for you to get an I-20 and an F1 through us and change your status to become a student here at our college, you need to provide $76,000 up front. Now, I struggled to find someone who can show a receipt or a bank statement with $56,000. How much more $76,000 up front to cater for the first year? I cannot afford that. So both Andrews University and Pacific Union, okay, we're back. All right, let me just get I'm using the Wi-Fi at school, and their signal is a little, yeah, so I'm gonna take my phone off the Wi-Fi, and I have my laptop on it. Okay, it's back. All right. So, okay. So yeah, both Andrews University and Pacific Union College were not able to cater for me because, let's be practical with this. When I'm finished with my training and I'm a mission pilot in the Philippines, I don't have a salary and stipend is no guarantee, right? So, okay, my wife wants me to tap the screen so it will focus. Is everything okay now? Okay, good. All right, so she's, helping me to ensure that you guys are getting the best. So, Pacific Union College and Andrews University cannot help me. They don't have an aviation program for people who want to get into mission aviation. And when we say mission aviation, I'm not talking about I have a degree in aviation and I fly for Delta or Southwest Airlines as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian who is also a pilot in the airlines, and I don't work or fly on Saturdays. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're gonna do bush flying, small airplane, doing medical evacuations of bringing pastors, teachers, volunteers, missionaries, the sick, using aircraft or helicopter, basically. They don't have a program like that. Their program is a degree program. That is why it's so expensive. So I was sharing with them my story of how I've been a missionary in the Philippines, and I was trying to see if there's any loophole in the school to help me to get my training. Lo and behold, basically what they did was, if I don't have the 56,000, Andrews University, I don't have their attention. If I don't have the 76,000, Pacific Union College, it's not happening either. So I had to resort to the world, okay? How do I get training? I found a school, SMAT. They're over in Michigan. And I called up SMAT, and they were pretty nice. SMAT has a mission aviation program where they teach you Bible classes, they teach you theology classes. Basically, they train you in how to function as a missionary as well as fly an airplane. And I think it's an associate degree or something that they offer if you want to get into that. But their program is specifically designed for mission aviation. The same program that I was hoping that our school would have, SMAT has that. But I couldn't afford it. Also, I was not so enthused with going to a non-Adventist school to learn theological subjects to be involved in mission aviation and so on. So basically I couldn't afford it, and the requirements that they have, I couldn't avail of it being a Seventh-day Adventist. So I couldn't avail at SMAT. Then I tried to find sponsorship. Okay, what are the institutions that can help with aviation training? So I called up MAF, Mission Aviation Fellowship, and when I called, you guys got to hear this. When I called Mission Aviation Fellowship, the phone call was so different. Of course, they couldn't help me, but when I called, the lady answered and she said, which country you're from? I said, I'm a Jamaican citizen. She said, okay, we don't have anything that can incorporate a citizen like yourself in our program. We kind of mainly cater for people who are American citizen. And they Mission Aviation Fellowship, they're in Papua New Guinea, Haiti, Africa, Guyana, Bolivia. I think they are in the Philippines. They're like pretty much all over the world. And so because I'm not an American citizen, I could not get involved with Mission Aviation Fellowship. So another closed door again. But the lady said something very serious that I didn't hear from Pacific Union College and I didn't hear it from Andrews University. She said, even though we cannot cater for you because of your citizenship, I'm going to be very careful how I talk to you because I don't want to discourage you, because when someone calls our institution about wanting to get into mission aviation, that is something serious. So I'm really choosing my words carefully. I don't want to discourage you because, we really value mission aviation. And I was thinking, wow, they cannot help me because of my citizenship. But listen the language of this lady, how she's dealing with me. She does not want to discourage me. She's very careful with her words because mission aviation is something serious. I did not get that from our institution. It was have the money up front or we cannot help you. Bye-bye. So couldn't avail of Mission Aviation Fellowship. So our journey continues again. Then I started calling local fixed base operations, local aviation schools, trying to see if they offer international status, like they can have you change your status, become a student, and so on. And I found a school in Fort Lauderdale, and this was when I was in California. I was in New York at the time, and I found a school down in Fort Lauderdale, and they had a reasonable good package, but the rent was gonna be an exorbitant amount. I would need to have, I think, 12 or 1,500 a month to live on the campus, and I was like, that's a killer. I don't have that kind of money. But they had a good package deal, $6,000 for 40 hours of training. But based on the rent situation, I was like, this is too challenging for me. So Fort Lauderdale one didn't work out. Then Lord worked it out. We came to California to fundraise some more. And I found a school in Baldwin Park and San Bernardino. They also had a 6,000 package. And they wanted $15,000 up front before they will change my status so I can become a student. Didn't have that. But at least it's not 56,000 or 76,000, you know, it's 15,000. So I'm like, okay, try to fundraise, try to find help. Can anyone help me vouch for 15,000 so I could change my status and become a student? I couldn't find anyone, and I'm running out of time. I have a month left on my tourist visa, so and I don't have enough to go back to the Philippines and take the training. So what do? We went into prayer and fasting. We were praying, we were agonizing with the Lord. And then I had a preaching appointment in San Diego, and I came here in San Diego and I visited a friend, and we were getting some promises like piano students for my wife. Someone was gonna help me find ministry that I can do. And the only thing that I needed to do now was find a school in San Diego to get my training. So I went online, okay, schools, international schools, or schools in San Diego that offer aviation training. The first result came through a school that is of an international status, and I got the phone number. They were 19 miles from where I was staying, so I got the phone number, I got the address, and I called up. The president answered the phone, and when the president picked up, I said, hello, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, and I would like to get mission aviation training. I need a private pilot license, and I need to be instrument rated so I can go back to the Philippines and do medical evacuation as a missionary pilot. And you know what happened? Andrews wanted 56,000. Pacific Union College wanted 76,000. The school in Fort Lauderdale wanted 6,000, and the rent was gonna be 1,500 a month. The school in San Bernardino wanted, they offer a 6,000 package deal, but they wanted 15,000 up front before they changed my status. When I contacted the school that I'm at right now, they only needed 3,000 on my account, right? 3,000 on my account to process a change of status for me to become a student. So guess what? I enrolled. I had raised that amount when I was fundraising for the mission training, and I was able to put that on my account. And the same day when I went in the office, the president started to change my status, filed for the M1, and lo and behold, I got enrolled. I started my training. The last week of December last year, I was in an airplane for the first time getting training, So it's a long journey, okay? And I put this video together to say that it is so sad, and I want to create an awareness. Martin Luther is my inspiration right now. I want to create an awareness in Adventism about mission aviation, because as a church, I don't think we value it enough. Okay, so why am I saying this? Because, okay, I have gotten emails from people like myself who they are Seventh-day Adventist youth who would like to get into mission aviation. Sometimes I go to churches and you have parents asking me, my son is 19, my son is 20, and I would like to know. My wife is sending me a message. I'm excited to see what she's going to say. People are messaging me. Persons are sending me emails. Persons are contacting me via social media asking me, how can they get involved in mission aviation as a Seventh-day Adventist? I'm going to tell you this, and I'm getting really close to the camera. Our church is not on par as yet with mission aviation. Someone posted it. Nah, it's okay. Oh, let me just yeah, okay. Just my wife, you know, she had a comment on some, but I'm just replying to her. So our church is not on par as yet to have a mission aviation training facility to help our young people to get into mission aviation. Before I came here in the US to pursue my training, well, fundraising at first, then later on training, I went to an island in the Philippines where Philippine Adventist Medical Aviation Service, they operate out of. The pilot is Sean Knapp. I went to spend 2 weeks with Sean Knapp because I wanted to see exactly what they do. And he took me on a number of his flights. And he gave me a crash course on training, of course. 3 hours I was at the control learning how to fly in instrument conditions. And of course, he didn't let me land that airplane because you don't land the airplane. You know, you just don't land an airplane with any beginner at all. But, you know, doing cruise, turns, staying on heading and so on. I spent 2 weeks with Sean Knapp. And I was blown away at what he was doing. When he landed on these islands, like one island in Tawi-Tawi or Mapun, why you do not ask Darrenly how he got his file? Oh, okay, I'm good. That's a question from Yanko. Okay, I'm gonna address Q&A later on, okay? So give me a little time. I spent 2 weeks with Sean Knapp in the Philippines to see what their aviation program entails. And I remember on this particular island, when the airplane landed, it's like oxygen came to the island. You had a long line of people waiting for a ride to get off the island. He had to leave me on the island because it's a 4-seater airplane. He did the evacuation and he said, okay, I'm gonna leave you here for a couple of hours, then I'm gonna come back. And then another missionary who was there took me up to his home, gave me some food, and he had me tour with him to the different patients that he was basically treating. They had skin disease, they had leprosy, and this was an Islamic island, okay? 35,000 people, most of them were Muslims. But aviation is able to go in through mission aviation. The Adventists is able to go in and they are meeting the need. I watched my friend, right? I watched my friend put a charcoal poultice on a Muslim's man leprosy foot. The man's one of his legs had leprosy. And my friend was catering for that as an Adventist missionary. He gets his supplies when the airplane comes on the island. It's a really small, tiny island that is surrounded by water, all right? So after 2 weeks of being with Sean Knapp, I had a very good idea the extent to which Mission Aviation is able to bring the gospel to people who would never hear anything about the Adventist church. And you would think, right, that at based on the extent to which an airplane is able to go in with supplies, cater for the sick, mingle with the people, bring in missionaries in, bring in pastors in, bring in supplies in, doing evacuation, you would think that our church would jump on board and financially support these ministries. They don't. They are called faith-based ministries. Okay? When the evacuation is done, it's completely free. The evacuee or the patient with his family is not... Okay, yes, I'm going to mention that. I'm still getting... My wife is helping me to remember my notes and my points. The evacuation is not charged. They're not charged. When they go in and they pick up a patient with his watcher or his relative, he's not charged at all. So how are you going to take an airplane, keep it maintained, keep it refueled, right? Have a pilot available on call to evacuate someone and they are not charged? It's a faith-based ministry. Churches are being built in these remote areas of the Philippines and Papua New Guinea and Guyana and Bolivia and in other parts of Africa, right? Churches are being built. When these churches are built, they don't have the name of the aviation ministry on their doors. They have the names of the Seventh-day Adventist Church on their doors. When members are baptized, they're baptized by Seventh-day Adventist pastors. When tithe and offering comes in from these little poor people, it goes to the Seventh-day Adventist Conference. However, the church is not financially supporting these ministries. They are faith-based ministries. Not only that, young people in our church would have to either go get a degree for $56,000 per year or $76,000 per year, and then go in the bush somewhere around the world in a small plane without guaranteed stipend, without any benefit and financial aid or whatever it's worth, fully voluntarily. Because our schools were not designed to help our young people at a cost-efficient plan to get our training. So we have to resort. People like me who want to do it solely for ministry have to do it through the world's schools. That is so sad. There's a video that the Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services put out. And it's from the director of the Frontier Missionaries in the Philippines. And an incident took place, right? An incident took place. And before I share that incident, I'm going to give you my personal incident, okay? So during that 2 weeks when I went to see Sean Knapp in Palawan in the Philippines for 2 weeks, I rode a motorbike for about an hour to get to the base of the mountain because I said, not only do I want to hear about the people that I'm going to be helping, I know, right, Nicola? Right. I'm getting comments and it's distracting me a little bit. Okay. Not only, so I rode a motorbike for about an hour and a half to get to the base of the mountain because that's where the mountaineers live. Those who are not, they're not a part of the society of the Philippines. They're not even under the government. They're just in these mountains, completely isolated from civilization. And that's why it takes airplanes and helicopter to bring the civilization to them, okay? So when we got to the base of the mountain, we had to park the motorbike, grab our luggage and our supplies, because I had rice with me. My companion had food, you know, that we were going to bring because we're going to spend a couple nights, so I could meet these people. When I was parking the motorbike, there was a board close to the home. As I went up on the little hill up where the house was, the motorcycle flipped and I twisted my ankle. The motorbike flipped on a piece of board, fell on me. My left leg got a little, it was twisted. And so I kind of got up, dust myself off, parked the bike, and I said to my friend, hey Kuya, you know, bigger brother, hey Kuya, let's go, okay? It's gonna be about a 30 to 45 minutes hike. Really steep mountain that we're gonna climb, okay? I have videos of it. We're gonna go up this mountain. I have about 10 pounds of rice on my back, and I'm going up, and as I begin to climb and the place is getting steeper and steeper, guess what happens? My twisted ankle began to get sour. Halfway through the hike, I'm limping. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And you know what? I made it to the mountain with the rice on my back. And I went to bed, and around 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the night, we had worship with them. My friend cooked, we had worship, we ate, and we went to bed. I was miserable that night. I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep. You know what happened? I was in pain. When I tried to elevate the leg to see if that would help. Nothing. The pain was excruciating. I cried that night. Cried that night. I'm stuck in this mountain with a twisted ankle, completely in pain. When I got up there, I needed to take a pee in the night, so it was a little makeshift home, and you know, we don't have a bathroom inside, so I had to get a stick and limp around to get outside to go pee. And by the time I hit morning, I could not walk. I messaged Wendy Harris, the wife of the director for Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Service. I said, Wendy, I have a twisted ankle. I cannot walk. I'm up here in the mountains with the isolated Filipino people, and I'm in a lot of pain. You know what Wendy said to me? She said, now you know what it feels like to be in the mountain, injured, and need to be evacuated. And I was like, yeah. I was stuck up there for 2 more days, waiting for the swelling to go down, waiting for the pain to be reduced before I could make it back down to the mountain. Just imagine, right? You're pregnant. Your wife is in labor, and the baby got twisted, or the head wouldn't come down, and you're having difficulty giving birth. How would you take that pregnant wife of yours from that mountain, or from that small little island that doesn't have an ambulance that will just transport you to the nearest hospital? How would you respond? Okay. I didn't have a pregnant wife, but I had a twisted ankle, and I had to wait 2 days for the swelling to go down before I could hike. I barely made it down. I was still limping after 2 days, right? So I know what it personally feels like to be in the mountains with an injury, and wouldn't mind if a helicopter came and would bring me to a hospital, or at least bring me to the base of the mountain. I can get in a car or something and go to the hospital for treatment. My story ended on a good note. The Frontier missionaries shared a story where they were out for a weekend in the lowlands, and one guy, their neighbor who lives with them in the mountain where they have the project, he fell sick, and he was able to hike down the mountains, barely made it down. And when he got to the base of the mountain, he died. He died. What if that guy had an airplane, right? What if that guy had an airplane or a helicopter come in to the mountains, picked him up, and bring him to a hospital? chances are, even if he would still die, at least he would have died knowing that he made it to a hospital and they couldn't do anything for him. But he died at the base of the mountain because all his energy was spent getting down. Right? That's aviation ministry for you. That's the extent to which this ministry is needed. And our church is behind. And I'm creating this awareness as a student, knowing what it's like to be a Seventh-day Adventist, knowing what it's like to have a missionary minded, knowing what it's like to want to do it. When you go to our schools to get a degree, you don't think about spending thousands of dollars to get your degree, whether nursing or theology or whatever you get your degree in. You don't think about doing it for free after you graduate. You think about how you're going to find a job, how you're going to earn, pay back for a student loan, buy a house, buy land, buy this, buy that, and have a success, so to speak. You know what my wife said to me the other day? She said, your pilot training, what you're paying for this mission pilot training is much more than what I paid for my master's degree in music. And I was like, I know. She said to me, she said, and not her, rather, a friend of hers said to me, this is not practical. What if you have kids? What if you have a family? Why would you spend thousands of dollars to get your pilot license and then go in some bush area with a small airplane, flying and evacuating people without any retirement plan, without health benefits, without pension at the end of the day, without even a guaranteed stipend? Why would you do it? This is why I would do it. This is why I am doing it. It's because of the value of a soul. Do you know the value of a soul? No, you don't. Okay? Or maybe you do. Jesus knows the value of a soul. He died. He said, the Bible teaches, we were not redeemed with corruptible things such as silver and gold, but with the precious blood of Christ Jesus. So when I saw my friend landed that airplane and evacuated the sick, you cannot put any financial value to that experience. You cannot value it. You cannot put any money to say, this is how much this soul is worth. Christ said, no. I bought people with my blood, not with gold. One of the things I like talking with Dwayne Harris about, that's the director for Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Service, I'm inspired by these men, right? Dwayne could be flying for Delta, Southwest Airlines. He could be flying for any aviation place he wants to, get a nice job, have nice benefits, but he chose to be doing it for free. Okay? Do you know how much is it for an airplane? Thousands of dollars. Okay? Thousands of dollars for an airplane. Who in their right mind, right, take themselves up and take on this expensive, very expensive ministry through aviation? I can tell you who does it. People who are doing it for Christ, not for man. And I am so blessed to know, because I don't want anyone to think I'm not here to bash the church. No, not my prerogative. The ministry rolls on, okay? Yanko posted something here about an issue with Uncle David. We know that issue, okay? I am well acquainted with it. It's a faith-based ministry because we love the work. It's such joy to know that when we go in, right, and we evacuate someone today and later on that person say, hey, I'm alive because a helicopter came or an airplane came. Hey, my wife was able to deliver the baby. I have a son because a pilot came with an airplane, and even though I didn't have the money, my child is alive today. I remember Wendy sent out an email of a remote area saying, we want to have your religion in our village. We want your God in our village. We want your church in our village. Well, here's some good news, okay? While the church, with its institution, is not willing to financially support these aviation ministries with fuel and training people to become pilots, and also with maintenance, recently, the Philippine government, through the health department, was willing to help to subsidize the fuel for Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services. That's powerful. That the work that the church fails to do, the world is stepping in and they're saying, we see the work that you guys are doing. Okay? We see the work that you guys are doing. And we want to help you. How much you need for fuel? How much you guys need for maintenance? We're going to do what we can to financially support the ministry. Now, look what's happening, right? This is what's happening. Look at what's happening. The world is paying for the fuel to bring the Adventist message to people in the Philippines. That's powerful, guys. That's powerful. Believe it or not, this thing is so faith-based, it's not funny. One of the hardest things to do is explain to people why we do what we do. I'm excited. For me, I am excited. Like, let me tell you a little about what this training is doing to me. Before I started getting mission pilot training, I only knew what it is to depend on the Lord for $2,000, $3,000 max, which is plane ticket to travel, you know. Through this training, like, I'm going to give you a little idea of financially what this thing takes, okay? When I just started out, I was doing 4 lessons per day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, 4 lessons per week, 4 flight lessons, 4 ground and 4 flights. So 8 lessons, 4 practice, 4 theory, 4 flights. You know how much that was costing me in the first per week for 4 flight lessons? Almost $1,000 US. Okay. My faith is now stretched. I'm now stretched because before I got into mission aviation, now you can see why I sat on the thing for 1 year, because I know I don't have the faith to do mission aviation, because it's not money that it takes, it's faith. $1,000 per week for my lesson, theory and flight. When I go up, right, it's $135 per hour for the plane, and I'm scheduled for 2 hours flight lesson. I'm paying $65 an hour for the instructor who sits beside me to give me instruction. Long story short, an average can be $300, $250 thereabout per lesson. I need 40 hours required before I'm qualified to get the license. And this is not just any 40 hours. It's learning to fly is, I'm not perfect. I cannot perfect every lesson. There are days the plane is flying me and I'm not flying the airplane. Okay. I'm a student. I'm learning. So where am I going with this? Okay. From the onset, I know why a lot of people is not able or willing to get into mission aviation. So people say, oh, this is expensive, and oh, you're a student and it costs so much. Well, here's the thing. Especially amongst the Filipino community, we take it upon ourselves to work hard, and we will sponsor someone in college for 4 years to get their degree. We'll pay the tuition for them for 4 years to get a degree. We can do the same thing for a mission student pilot. We can, right? But because you're saying after your mission pilot training, well, I can support a student with their degree program, because when they're finished, they're going to get a job, they're going to take care of their family, can buy house and land and car and have money and have status. So I can support that for 4 years. But who is willing to support young people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church to become a mission pilot who is going to burn $1,000 or more? Because my school is very, very affordable for me. There are other institutions, it's much more than that. Okay? Who would support young people in our church for 6 months, 1 year, to become mission pilots? I agree that in the past, Gospel Ministries International was, they were funding students. They were training students. And unfortunately, they burned the program with, they got the training, they got the license, they got the thing, and they just jumped ship. I agree that the ministry was burnt. And no, the ministry doesn't have the money. They don't have the resources. Neither do they have the personnel who is willing to do it. Okay, I agree. But should we just pull the plug and say because some bad apples came around, the whole bunch should be spoiled? No. So, you know what I'm telling myself? And based on my experience, okay, I'm not a rich person. I'm not a millionaire who is from a rich family who my dad flies the airline, so I'm getting my pilot's license because my dad is a pilot and I want to be a pilot. I'm solely into this because of ministry. And I remember someone wanted to help me with some donation towards my training, and I was drilled. I was asked questions. Okay, are you sure that you won't jump ship? Are you sure that you're in it solely for ministry? I was asked a lot of questions before that person was willing to even consider supporting me financially with a donation towards my training. I have a question for that. When you decide that you're going to support a student for 4 years in college to get their degree, do you ask them, are you sure you're going to stay as a Seventh-day Adventist member? Are you sure when you get the job, you're going to return tithe and offering to the institution? Do we drill them, or we just say, well, they're poor, they're less fortunate, so I'm going to support them? I don't know. But I was drilled before I was considered, and this is like the norm. People don't just support. I've started GoFundMe on the internet 2 times now. My brother started one for me. My wife started one for me. And you put both of them together, I think they raised less than maybe 100. I think that one raised $50 and the other one maybe $350. Less than $500. And these things been there for a while, especially the first one. It's been there for at least 1.5 years, okay? So I'm going to open a Q&A session for you guys to shoot some questions out at me. What I want to do, my wife wants me to be a certified flight instructor. I want to contribute. Instead of just talking about the issue, I want to be a part of the solution. Right? I want to be a part of the solution where someday I would like to be a certified flight instructor where I want to be one of the option I know what I'm going through financially, especially. And I was thinking to myself, what if we had schools with airplanes where instead of taking this 1,000 per week and give it to a non-Adventist institution to train me, what would happen if we had an institution where that money would be less if I'm just paying for like fuel, where instructors were willing to train? So instead of having it free like how we had it before, why not have it where we just pay for the fuel at least? Instruction is free, the plane is free, and we at least pay for fuel and maybe a little extra towards the maintenance of the aircraft, because we need to have them maintained so they're airworthy and they're safe. What would happen? So you know what I'm going to do? When I'm done with my training, one day I want to be a certified flight instructor. And through this student experience of learning to walk by faith and depending on the Lord for every dime, I'm not a working student. I'm solely supported by the donation of people when I go to churches or my website and so on. And that's how I've been surviving. And you know what? I want to be a part of the solution where one day, by God's grace, I hope to have a small Cessna 152-seater. I want to be a certified flight instructor, and I want to give lessons for free. So you find the airplane, you find the fuel, right? And you contact me, and I'll help to train you. Because I know what it feels like to be in need. And even if they might jump the ship later on, it's not up to me to decide the outcome. People change. Yeah, I know that. But I'm not pulling the plug. You know why? Jesus died to save the world, knowing that the entire world will not accept him. We cannot base what we're going to do on the outcome of people willing to change at some point. If the fact that Jesus died to save everyone and not everyone is going to accept salvation, he could have did the calculation like what you and I could do. He could say, you know what? Everyone's not going to accept me. I'm not going to make the sacrifice. No, he said, even if it was just for one sinner, Christ would have died. Even if only one student stays committed to the aviation ministry, I'm willing to do it because of what Christ has done for me, right? As we open up the Q&A session, I have a question here. I'm going to read it. It says, what's the difference between SMAT and Andrews University? And what can our schools do to cater for young people who are interested in training for mission aviation? Hey, thank you, Ranko. I hope as long as I'm alive, that's what I'm going to work towards. Getting more ratings, becoming a certified flight instructor, and doing what I can to bring an awareness to the Adventist community and the church at large that we've been sitting for too long just watching these self-supporting ministry just batter and do all they can to survive. There's millions in the church. I have no doubt. The church has the money, but they don't value this ministry. And this ministry is able to take our message to places that your little tent cannot take it. No other, like, let me see which pastor in our church is going to put on his suit and hike up a mountain for 4 or 5 hours with his crusade team to do an evangelistic crusade in these mountains. Tell me which pastor is going to hike with the singing evangelist and everything to bring the gospel in these remote areas. They need aircraft. They need pilots. They need airplanes. When you provide the airlift, the evangelistic team gets there in an hour, 2 hours or less. If you hike, and especially if you know areas in the Philippines, you're doing this hike, and guess what happened? Guess what happens when you're doing this hike? It's rainy season, the rain comes down, and you have to put up a little thing in a tree and go higher, or else you're flooded or you're washed away, or you cannot cross. Okay. Ranko said not even one pastor will do it. I've been there, Wanko, in the Philippines, where I'm invited to preach, and I clean my shoes nicely. Before I went to the Philippines, I was accustomed to getting a nice pickup to a church to preach. Red carpet rolls out. In the Philippines, when I'm invited to preach in and this is not mountain, this is a small little village. I had to walk over rivers, through cornfield, through cane field, up mountainside and to get to the church to preach. The elder said, hey, I'll meet you at your church. I'll meet you at your doorstep. And we're going to walk for an hour. Okay? We're going to walk for an hour. I know you're not talking about me. I'm just saying. We're going to walk for 1 hour to get to the church to preach. By the time I got to the church, my clothes is wet from the dew of the grasses that I had to walk through. Okay? It's also dirty from the dust. It's like, why did I even clean my shoes? And when you get there and you look around, you cannot complain because people are there wearing slippers and shorts. They don't even have church shoes. They don't even have church clothing. And you have to give them the gospel, So thank you, Wanko, for that. I know. And even if they're willing to do it, maybe we couldn't even pay them to do it because, that comes with a price, right? So, Q&A, Q&A session is started. Again, what's the difference between SMAT and Andrews University? Okay. SMAT is aviation school. They're from a non-Adventist church. Okay. Their school is solely based on providing the community and the world with young people or pilots on a whole who is not just pilots, but they can give Bible study, they can preach, they can construct, they can fully function as missionary pilots in wherever they are assigned. And they require less money. They don't charge an exorbitant amount like a degree program from Andrews University and Pacific Union College. Okay? So the difference between SMAT and Andrews University and Pacific Union College is the program is specifically designed for mission aviation. That's the difference. In our Adventist schools, it's not for mission aviation. It's for get a degree in aviation and then go decide what you want to do with it. Okay. Here's another question that came up through our Q&A. And by the way, feel free to post your questions that you have for me personally or for, whatever. Just shoot it out there. Why do you say that our churches don't value mission aviation? Okay, this is why I say that our church does not value mission aviation enough. It's not funding them. It's not funding them. They're not funded by the organized church. The tithe and offering is coming into our church to help finish the gospel into all the world. These aviation ministries are dropping off pastors. They're dropping off missionaries. They're picking up the sick, right? But the church only puts their logo on the institution that is built in these villages. When a church is built in the village, the logo of the church goes on these, right? However, they're not financially supporting them. So guess what? When the airplane needs fuel, the church is not putting fuel in the airplane. They will put a pastor in there. They will put the logo on the church. They will take the baptism. They'll bring a pastor in to do the baptism, but they're not putting the tithe and offering into these ministries to help to keep the ministries going. Not only that, our young people, they cannot avail of any training through our Adventist schools to get training and become mission pilots. They have to go to the world, right? If I went to SMAT, I would have to take the theology of SMAT to become a mission aviation pilot. Why? Why couldn't I get that at our schools? You know why? It's because I don't have $56,000. I don't have $76,000. All right, Messam. Yeah, he did. The funding is needed. Right now in the Philippines, one of the airplane is stuck on an island waiting for repair. You know why? There's no money to fix it. The planes are down. They need maintenance. And the pilots are willing to struggle with their family to keep going. They're willing to struggle to keep going. Okay? But while the pilot is saying, I don't need to be paid to do it, the aircraft needs money. Okay? The aircraft needs money to fix it. Our church is still not there where it's supposed to be, where mission aviation is concerned. And I'm gonna spend the rest of my life as a missionary student pilot for now, when I'm finished with my training, and by God's grace, I hope to finish the private pilot training this year. I'm really working towards that. I'll see how the Lord blesses. When I'm finished, I want to be a part of the solution and not just to talk about the problem. Okay? So when our churches begin to value this approach to ministry, funding will come from the General Conference. It will come from the tithe and offering to keep these aircraft maintained, to keep them refueled, to keep them doing the work of providing airlift to remote areas in the world. Hats off to all those pilots all over the world who take it upon themselves to fly these airplanes, putting their life at risk. I remember I watched my friend Sean Knapp take off. It's a hot, humid day. He's gonna go bring a patient, and the aircraft was doing like this instead of climbing. And I look at Sean when he got back. I said, the plane wasn't climbing. He said, yeah, I know. He said, sometimes I do these mission trips with a plane, and I feel like I'm not gonna make it back home to see my family. And he said, sometimes the weather is bad. Sometimes his life is at risk, and the plane is challenging, and all stuff is happening. And I said, so how do you keep going? You know what he said to me? He said, this is what keeps me going. When I look in the back of that airplane and I see the sick person, I say to myself, I am here in this airplane, in this weather, under these conditions, because this person in the back seat needs more help than my own life. His life is in the balance based on my flying and this aircraft's performance and the help of God. And he said the fact that he's up there where he could have been in the comfort of his wife's arms with his son, but because he's trying to save a life, it keeps him calm, it keeps him going. And that's why I'm inspired after 2 weeks of being with Sean Knapp to be a missionary pilot in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. You know where the church money goes for? Yeah. I know, Wanko. Some of that money should be funded and should be channeled into mission aviation. So young people, this is my challenge to you young people. Don't just sit and wait for the church. I launch out by faith. I got out of my comfort zone. I never know where the money is going to come from to do the training. And you know what? And I always tell people as I take just before I take the next Q&A comment here, the greatest value or asset to my student missionary life is my wife. My wife is my greatest asset. You know why my wife is my greatest asset? I have a woman, a helpmate, a friend, a companion who she will hang with me in the tough times. She will hang with me. If it's our last dime, I can use it towards my training. She goes and she takes the roller coaster ride. I remember as we were fundraising, my wife spent an entire night baking muffins and cupcakes, vegan of course, so we can sell it and raise money for my training. And when you're married to a woman like that, no matter how things get tough, you don't quit. You keep going, right? You keep going. And so I praise the Lord personally for the wife that I'm married to. So I'm 30 years old. My birthday is coming up the end of this month. I'll be 31. And maybe, you know, I don't know, but even if I have a family later on and kids, I'm still gonna be a missionary pilot. I am glad that God did not put me in a rich family, because maybe I couldn't inspire much people. Okay? If I was born in a rich family and you're watching this video because my dad is a millionaire, he has an airplane, and I have money, and that's why I'm in mission aviation, maybe I couldn't inspire you. But I can tell you know where I'm from? My mom had me when she was 19 years old. I was born and raised without a dad, 19 years old. My mom dropped out of school at the age of, what? 14 or 15 or 13. She dropped out as a teenager. The furthest she went to high school was the 7th grade, which is the first grade in high school. She dropped out. Okay? Raised me washing people's clothes for a living. Okay? I'm a nobody. Where I'm from, my mom was not even married, and to be born out of wedlock in the 80s was considered degrading. Okay? But when God called me to mission aviation and to become a missionary with this exorbitant amount of money that this training needs, He said, hey, I didn't call you because you have the money. I called you because I have the money. All I need is for you to be faithful to me and give me all the glory. So guess what? Even before I'm finished the training, God gets all the glory, because a fatherless kid like myself from the ghettos of Jamaica with a nobody as my support in my family, when I pull this off through the help of God, He gets all the glory. And you know, maybe that's the time when Adventist Review will come hunting me down to hear my story. Maybe after I have an airplane and my story gets out there of how this poor fatherless young man from Jamaica took himself up, got his training, God provided an airplane, and he's doing evacuation in the Philippines. Maybe that's when you will read about me in an Adventist magazine. Okay? Maybe I'm going to say no to the Adventist magazine. Because sometimes those magazines, right? Sometimes those magazines, they only show up when the story has reached its success. But I'm not at the finishing line yet. I'm still on the journey. Which brings me to a very interesting point here. Very interesting point here. Young people, pray about it. Pray about it. I heard the story of a 19-year-old girl, and it's a sad story. And I've really gotten close to the mom and the dad with this story. Her name is Brianna Cassidy. And Brianna Cassidy was 19 years old, and she was about to finish with her commercial license to get into the aviation, where her family no doubt prayerfully invested in her training. And you know one thing I admire with this parent, it's their only daughter, by the way. They were willing, listen to me, they were willing to work hard and support their daughter, even though they know at the end of the day, their daughter is going to solely do it for ministry. No paycheck at the end of the month, no benefits, but just the fact that their daughter was going to do it for ministry. Unfortunately, the daughter met in a car accident and died tragically. And it gave birth to a ministry designed to help fund mission aviation in the Adventist community, where they're a 501c3, they give tax deductible receipt and so on. And you know the sad thing, why I'm sharing this? They almost closed down the ministry. Here they are trying to raise funds to help people in the Adventist community who have the passion, like their daughter, to do it solely for ministry in bringing the gospel to remote areas and isolated people who wouldn't any other way hear about our message. And they almost closed it down. I remember I watched the video from Brother Rod Cassidy, and I was so heartbroken when I watched the video. You know why I was heartbroken when I watched the video? People are not donating to the ministry. And you have millions of Adventists giving to Red Cross. As soon as there's a natural disaster, oh, we want to send money to Haiti because they had an earthquake. We want to send money to people in Florida with the Irma. We want to send some to the Philippines because of Yolanda. They want to give some Adventists. They even have a list of charities that they support. These people are not even giving any message. They're just giving food and water. Okay. They almost closed down the ministry because it's not funded. You know why? We don't value mission aviation enough. So we take our money and we put it elsewhere. Our young people are not motivated to get a training because we don't have a facility to cater for them. The other day I got an email from a young man over in some part of, I think he's doing Bolivia or something. He wants to go fly with David Gates. And you know what he said? It's not easy to find funding for his training. And I know, that's where I'm at. I don't have a license. You see this shirt? There's nothing on it because I haven't gotten my private pilots. You put something on here when you've accomplished your license and your ratings. That's why it's empty, because I'm still learning. Okay. A private pilot, like this is the other question people ask me. How much is it for your private pilot license? Two things will determine the money that it takes to get your training. Two things it takes to get your license rather. Finance, good weather, and well, three, and your attitude to grasp the information. We're told, don't cram, don't rush, take your time. So, what does that mean? It means that if the money is not there and the weather is good, you can't fly. You can't learn because you need money. If you have the money, the weather is bad, you still can't fly because you need the good weather. So when you have the finances and the good weather and you can grasp the information as you should, then this can take you 3 to 6 months. You know how long I've been working on my private pilot's license? It took me more than a year to find a school. I've been cherishing this desire since 2014. I didn't start training until 2016, 2 years later. So the idea came in 2014. I started 2 years after that. I've been in training since last year, December, and I'm fluctuating because those two things, right? I go when God provides, and it's a blessing. I am challenging our institution, and I'm challenging our young people, and I'm challenging the members. Begin to get involved with mission aviation. we say that our time and our money should be spent in finishing the gospel. I take a pledge. The Advent message to all the world in my generation. Loving the Lord Jesus, I promise to take an active part in the work of the Adventist Youth Society, doing all that I can to help others and to finish the work of the gospel in all the world, which includes those mountains and those islands and those villages that is isolated. So go to our Q&A here. Ministries are supported, but those students that are interested to be trained are not supported so much. That is true. A lot of people support 3ABN. A lot of persons, they support media ministry. They support Doug Batchelor. They support Glow Track, Amazing Facts. Thousands of things are being supported. But the Mission Aviation program is not supported enough. And this one takes a lot of resources. Maybe that's why people are not willing to do it. So my point is, right? My training and praying for the resources and depending on the Lord to finance it for me, it's building me up to later on have enough faith where I can ask the Lord for airplanes. That's how optimistic I am. Lord, if you can provide the money it takes when my training was costing me $1,000 per week and God provided, then he can provide an airplane. So, I got an email recently from a friend of mine down in Kentucky. I won't say his name. All right. I won't say his name. But I'm just going to show you that the work that the church has failed to do, the world is doing it. Here it goes. So my dream airplane to go in ministry is a Cessna 208 Cessna Caravan. It can carry about 15 passengers and it has a nice cargo. It's a single engine, really fast, can bring a lot, do a lot. So in the back of my mind, that's the airplane that I would want to fly in the Philippines or wherever God sends me, right? And so buried that in my heart, praying about it, didn't tell anyone. A friend of mine messaged me and he said he's also he has his private, he's working on his instrument, and he wants to be a mission pilot as well in the Adventist community. We actually went to well, yeah, I won't tell you any more about him, then you'll figure out who it is. He's working at an airport to help pay for his training, right? So someone was able to lend him an airplane. He only found the fuel and I think he didn't pay much for instructor fee. So he got his private. The instrument is the same thing. He's going to get an airplane, just find fuel, and someone's going to help to instruct for free to get his instrument. Someone approached him, and I'm getting close to the video with this one. Someone approached him. And you know what the person said? Hey, so-and-so, I've been watching you here at the airport. If you were to have an airplane, what kind would you want to fly and where would you fly it? It's like, what? Long story short, someone from the non-Adventist community sees my friend getting his license, decided to go inquire who he is, why he wants to get into aviation, and that person is saying, I am willing, listen this, I'm willing to buy you an airplane so you can bring it to somewhere around the world and bring whatever you do in your ministry to the people. Can you imagine that? One individual is willing to buy an expensive airplane for at least 3 million or $1 million or $2 million. He is willing to buy $1 million or $2 million. I don't know how much is the plane, but it's not for 200,000 or 300. It's $1 million or $2 million plane. One individual is willing to buy that and give it to my Adventist pilot friend to go do mission aviation in bringing the Adventist message to the world. When he did his research on where this plane can function, guess what? Of all the airstrips we have in the Adventist community where mission aviation is concerned, the only place in the world that we can bring that airplane and have it fully function is no other place but in my home country, the Philippines. So I messaged my buddy Josh. I said, oh, did I just say his name? I messaged my friend and I go, hey man, I'm going to be your first officer. I'll sit in the right seat, you're in the left seat, and we're going to fly that plane together. If one individual is willing to buy an airplane and give it to an Adventist young man to go do mission aviation, why don't we have the church buying planes upon planes upon planes to help finish the gospel in the Adventist world? Tell me. It's a rebuke to our church. It's embarrassment. It's embarrassing. You know what? The other day I met someone on the ramp at my school. You guys just, I'm here to share stories and stories of what God has been doing since I started my training. So I go on the ramp and I walk around trying to meet people, meet pilots and so on, you know. And I was on the ramp about 3 or 4 months ago. And I met a pilot who has his own airplane. He's an instructor. And you know what he said to me? He said, hey, I have 2 airplanes. And he said, couple of years ago, a Jamaican saved his life. He was in Jamaica. He was going through some family marital problems or something. I think he was really depressed. He wanted some alcohol, and he asked a Jamaican guy to buy it for him. The guy bought him the alcohol with some whiskey, you know, wanted to get drunk, get away from his problems. And that Jamaican person bought the alcohol, checked upon him, was there for him. And he said, you know, he didn't drink. That was his last drink, rather. He drank a little, got wasted, whatever. But the Jamaican guy was there monitoring him the whole time. And so I was introduced to him as a friend of his. So, you know, it's my friend who is a pilot introduced me to his friend. And then the friend found out, I said, oh, you know, I'm Davin from Jamaica. And he's like, oh, you're Jamaica? Okay, let me tell you the story. He said, couple of years ago, a Jamaican saved his life. He's like, I'm alive because a Jamaican guy saved my life. I was wasted on alcohol, and the Jamaican guy looked out for me, and he saved my life. You're from Jamaica? I said, yes. I'm hearing the camera again, guys. You guys got to hear this one. You know what he said? Let me switch this around a little bit. I like to get close. All right. So this is what he said, right? He said, I have 2 airplanes. I cannot train you because, you know, I'm with the school, so it's illegal and so on. I cannot get training anywhere else. He said, I cannot train you, but after you get your private pilot's license, I want you to fly my other airplane for me. Can you imagine that? He said, I want you to fly my other airplane for me. This is a non-Adventist guy. Okay? He's non-Adventist. Willing to give me his airplane to fly. I know of a couple, and one in particular, who he has an airplane, and he knows that I'm learning to fly. And this is a pastor, by the way. I know a pastor who has his own airplane, and he never initiated to have me fly his airplane. Okay? I know of Adventists who have their airplane, and they know that I'm in training. They never even yet say, hey, let me, when is your free time? Hey, come fly with me and just observe and, you know, get the hang of it or whatever. But people in the world with their airplane, says, I want you to fly my airplane for me. people in the world says, I'm going to buy an airplane for you guys so you can fly and do the ministry. The work that the church is not doing and not willing to do, the world is saying, we will fund it. We will finance it. So I'm not going to be ungrateful in my video, because most, if not all, the resources I've had to pay for my training so far came from the East Coast. When I went to the East Coast and I fundraised, churches responded in giving donation, and I thank those, especially in the Filipino community. I don't know about the other, so sad. The Filipino community for me is a tremendous blessing. I don't know, there's some attachment with me and the Filipino community. Most of the homes that I've lived at, it's always a Filipino home. Most of the churches that I've shared my mission report were Filipino churches. Most of the donations that comes in towards my ministry and flying came from the Filipino community. I'm challenging the rest of the communities to get on board with Mission Aviation. And I don't know if maybe it's the Filipino community is more involved because the work is being done in their country. I don't know. I don't know why. But in my personal experience, I have a lot of regards for the Filipino community. I'm living with a Filipino family. And you know what this family has done for me? They have taken my wife and I in, and they said, hey, my uncle, won't say his name, he said, hey, I want you to live in my home, and I'm going to treat you like my own child. When you come in my home, you're like family. Don't worry about bills. Don't worry about food. Okay? And I've been with them now a couple months. Never had any issue. My kuya, my ate, they're a blessing to my wife and I. Okay? My point is, God called me to Mission Aviation, and it's a roller coaster ride, finding the resources and the money and the training and so on. But God has been faithful. Young people, I'm saying to you, don't wait for the church to give you the red carpet of a paycheck and subsidize you, okay? In the church, in the Adventist church, they ask people to give money for, we call it Worthy Student Fund. Because my school is not accredited and I'm not getting a degree, I don't qualify to get funding from any local church as a worthy student, even though I need the resources. I'm not qualified because my school is not accredited. And you know why I'm in a school that's not accredited? I don't know anyone who has 76,000 or 56,000 to support me in giving me their bank statement and helping me to raise money or to pay for my training. So, Q&A session is still open, guys. If you guys have any questions, shoot it out. What's your thoughts? What's your feedback? What's your comment? You know, I got some message here from a friend of mine. He's in Jamaica. Mesam, real meds in a youth. Yeah, it's true. It is true, bro. That many young people, they want to do something with their life. And I believe if we had the institution to send them to, they would be willing to go. And we would have hundreds more pilots where we only have few. If the church got on board with its resources, we would have had more airplanes. But unfortunately, the church is not there yet. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life advocating for a change in our institution. If one man fought for religious freedom and equality here in America, and today a black man can marry a white woman because one person was willing to spend the whole rest of his life preaching and fighting for racial equality. One Adventist student pilot, missionary student pilot, is going to start a change in bringing an awareness to the Adventist community, not just in prayer, okay? Not just in prayer, but the same way how we take our resources and give it to the other non-Adventist charity programs. Why not support your own? Why not support Mission Aviation charity program? I have a link that I'm going to send to you guys. Why not put some of your donation into our own charity programs? We've funded many other ministries. Why not support this one, Mission Aviation? Why not voice out and ask the church to do something for our young people? We talk about making accredited programs. If I had enough people fighting with me, maybe Andrews University would have created a program in their accredited university to train more young people to be mission pilots and send them out to bring the gospel to remote and isolated areas in the Philippines, Africa, Asia, Europe, you name it. But it starts with one person, and I'm going to start with myself. All right, so I don't have any more questions for anyone today. I want to thank everyone. I'm going to use this as a vote of thanks. I thank you for watching. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your donation towards my training. We continue to solicit more funds, more help, more prayers. It never stops. And when I'm finished, I'm going to go into fundraising for airplane. So I need more faith at that point. Airplanes are not cheap, you know. But God never, and I'm going to quote David Gates and Dwayne Harris. The Lord is the one who has the money. And he knows when to provide it. But he doesn't rain the money down from heaven in our hands. He uses people like you and I. Maybe if I was rich and I'm convicted like this and I still want to go to my 9-to-5 job, maybe I would pull and pump some of my money in this ministry. But I don't have the money. But I have the time. I have the willingness. And that's what I'm going to contribute to the table. My time and my talents. And again, praise the Lord that I'm married to someone who is willing to stand by my side in this roller coaster ride of getting mission training. Praise the Lord for my wife. Thanks to my friends. Praise the Lord for the Filipino community who's been there from the onset. I really appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your donations. I appreciate your encouragement, your support. And I'm just saying that we need to do more. Not just for me personally. There are many other young people. They message me time to time. I see them on social media. They contact me. They say, hey, you're an inspiration to us. Keep going. Don't give up. If God can start something through me, there are many more other young people. And if your child ever approached you and said, I would want to be a mission pilot, even though they're not going to get paid at the end of the day, work hard for them, support them financially, even though it's not a degree program that's going to give them benefits at the end of the day. Because guess what? As Adventists, we teach and we profess that there's a time coming when no one is able to buy or sell save he has the mark of the beast. So if you're a young person, right, the same way you would labor and work for someone who's going to get a degree, work even 10 times harder for someone who is not going to get a degree, but they're going to save lives. May God bless us as we continue to study and to share. Oh, by the way, something that just came up here. These institutions, because I posted something on my Facebook where it says that, you know, or Adventist churches are not in support. They're not involved as much as they should. And someone posted and said, he posted Adventist Aviation Service and Adventist World Aviation. Well, here's the thing. The conference does not subsidize these ministries. They are recognized by the conference, so they can go into the local church and ask for money, right? They can go in the local church and ask for money, and they can raise money, but the conference that gets the tithe and the offering and miscellaneous donation does not subsidize these ministries. And that's what I'm talking about. There are other churches in this world outside of Adventism. You go on YouTube, they're there. There are churches with these ministries. They are subsidizing maintenance, fuel. They have training facilities for people in their organization who wants to bring their message to remote areas. In Papua New Guinea, they work on the airstrip to build it, renovate it. The church, it was a church approach. Wow. We're asleep. We're asleep. And before God comes to put an end to this world, we got to do our part. I cannot do your part for you. Sister Cassidy, I don't want to bash any ministry at all, but I'm sure you have your personal experience. I just got a comment there in the feed below, and I don't know what was her experience. I've heard some things and some stories and so on, but being recognized doesn't automatically mean that they are subsidized. And unfortunately, these self-supporting aviation ministries, they don't have the money to train anyone. So young people, that's good news for you. We don't have the money to train you. If they did, I would be done already. I would have already been finished with my training. But God is the one who provides. And when he cannot use the organized church, he uses members. I've had people, I remember one lady asked me, how much for your lesson? I said, on average, $300. And she said, okay, I'm going to send you half now. And when I get my paycheck this week, I'm going to give you half. And when I get my paycheck next week, I'll give you the other half because I want to help pay for one of your lessons. I met up with the lady some time ago. And you know what this lady did? I almost said brothers and sisters. I'm used to preaching. You know what this lady said? She said that she was supposed to buy tires for her car when God told her to give me money towards my training. So she took the money to buy tires to put on her car and send it to me towards my training as a mission pilot student. Wow. So me, young people, and I'm saying this for the young people, it does not need you to have a guarantee of resources. If God is calling you to mission aviation, to bring the Advent message to the rest of the world, accept the call and lean on him. Lean on him to provide. The other day, I got a phone call. I was getting Facebook messages and I got a phone call from a friend of mine. I'm not going to give her name. We've never met. I say a friend. She's actually a sister in the church over in East Coast. And she's been trying to reach me on Facebook over and over. She said, someone told me about you and I'm trying to get in touch with you. Give me a call when you can. I gave her my number. She called me up. You know what she said? And I want to get close to the camera again. It helps when I get close, you know? You know what she said to me? When we talked on the phone, she said, hey, so a voice said to her, send Davin some money. She said, okay, I'm going to send the money. I'm going to send the money. But I'm waiting for some money to come in. I'm waiting for something to come through. Then I'm going to send him the money. The voice came back, haunted her more this time. Give Davin some money right now. She said, that is why I'm trying to reach you. I need an address. How can I send you some money? She sent the money. Okay? She sent the money. And you know what that taught me, brothers and sisters? You know what that taught me, guys? You know what that taught me? To depend on Him and Him alone. Not on people. If I need, if I need $100 tomorrow, and if I need this tomorrow, that tomorrow, if I need gas tomorrow, I don't have any relative or any friend that I can message and say to them, hey, my car needs gas. I need tuition this month. You know, like how kids do it to their parents. Mommy, daddy, I need tuition. Or mommy, daddy, I need textbook. I don't have no human being in this world that guaranteed me that if I ever need as much as $5, I can call upon them and they will provide. So when I had that experience, God used it to teach me that, Davin, I don't need you to depend on any flesh. I want you to depend fully on me and me alone. You depend on me, and I will use people in your church, and I will use people in the world to keep you funded, and keep you learning to fly, and keep gas in your car, keep food on your plate, and keep a roof over your head. And praise the Lord, Brother Michael, we need to all to depend on God and upon Christ alone. Thank you for watching. It's been a journey since 2014. I haven't not yet finished up. I don't know when I'm gonna finish up because, you know, weather and finance, but I'm gonna finish one day, and I'm gonna cross the finishing line one day. And for all those who have been with me since the journey began, buckle your seatbelt. Don't stop praying for us. For those who send us donation time to time, don't stop making that sacrifice and heeding to the voice of God and send us donation. Share our link, share our website, share our GoFundMe. Do what you can, because when you do what you can, God will bless. Guarantee. May God help us. May God bless us. And see you guys in the skies when we evacuate the sick and bring the gospel to them. Continue to pray for Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services. Continue to pray for Brianna Cassidy, Wings of Passion. I don't know if my wife is still watching, but I'm going to ask her before I close this feed. I'm going to ask her to post the link to the... Oh, by the way, yes, Mrs. Cassidy is there. Could you post the link to the Brianna Cassidy Wings of Passion? It's a non-profit organization, just like how you have ADRA and Red Cross and these things. I'm going to ask her to post the link to that foundation that helps to raise money for mission aviation pilots and ministries around the world. Okay, good. Reen, could you post that link so people can go there and send their donation for those who want? Thank you very much, Mrs. Cassidy. When you go there, you get a tax deductible receipt. You know, this is not a crisis based organization like Blue Cross and Red Cross and all these things, right? You know who started the Red Cross? That many of us are so quick to give to Red Cross to relieve the poor and suffering around the world. It's not our stuff, but we give our money to it. I'm saying we should start supporting our own. And Mrs. Cassidy, just want to encourage you guys. I know it's tough. I know the resources are not there as it's supposed to be, and sometimes you guys feel like quitting and throwing in the towel. But take it from me as a mission pilot student pilot, I've learned something through flying. When the wind gets boisterous and the gust and everything, the elements is doing everything to kill you off in that airplane, we don't quit. We keep flying. We work around the weather. We accept the updraft, the downdraft. We take the gust. We take the turbulence. We keep our seatbelt securely fastened, but we do not jump out of the airplane. We're taught to respond to emergency procedures. It's a part of the training. And I've been able to use my training. You're welcome, Mrs. Cassidy. But you're welcome, Mr. Rod Cassidy. I have been able to use my training lessons to apply them to my spiritual life. Of when things get tough in that airplane, I don't jump out. I respond with what I'm trained. If my engine was to quit, and you don't want your engine to fail, okay? You don't want your engine to fail. But if my engine was to fail on me, I am trained to respond to an engine failure, not jump out of the airplane. And I've been using those lessons in my personal life. That when things are not going as it's supposed to go. Alright, praise the Lord. We'll be praying for that airplane. When things are not going as it's supposed to do, and things are not, I am trained through the scriptures to respond, to go on my knees. In aviation, you pitch for your best glide speed that will bring you to a safe landing spot. Maybe a dirt or a freeway or something, but you don't jump out of the airplane. And I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. My wife is enough reason for me from the human perspective to not give up. And she is there with me, and my family who adopted me where I'm living now, they're supporting me. They're willing to go out and work, pay the bills, keep the roof over my head so I can come to school and take training. At the school where I come to, I can backseat, I can sit in other people's lessons. People are doing so much, and I know God is the one that has laid them. God laid the burden on their hearts, okay, for me to finish my training and keep spreading this gospel in all the world as a witness, so that the end may come. It's not calamities that we're giving our money to and helping to evacuate people. That's not going to finish the work. You know what's going to bring an end to this world? It's when this gospel of the kingdom is preached as a witness, then shall the end come. What are you doing? And I watched the video with there's a video on YouTube with what's the name of that son? I forgot. Oh man, I'm gonna send you guys the link to it. He's in Papua New Guinea. His dad died in a plane crash. His son died from an illness in the field. I forgot. I don't know if Mr. Cassidy remember his name. His dad was on takeoff and the plane crashed after some umpteen years. Maybe I should just Google it quickly here. Gary Roberts. Yes, Gary Roberts. He's over in, I think, Indonesia. Yeah. Gary Roberts, he was sharing his thing, and you know what he said? He said, we need to be doing what we can to finish the work. What are you doing with your money? What are you doing with your time? Because guess what? The gospel is going to be preaching to all the world, and the end will come. The only question is, are you a part of the work that is going forward, or are you just busy doing everything else? Where you cannot go in person, ask the Lord to help you to send your donation, to send your prayers, to send your encouragement and your support. God bless. Share this video around the world that we want to bring an awareness to Adventist aviation to get funding from the organized church, and also to have our schools begin to have programs to equip our young people and adults alike to become mission pilots, bringing our gospel message to unreached remote areas around the world. God bless, and stay tuned. Oh, by the way, I'm going to ask my wife. Yes, we have By His Stripes Ministries 1844. See you. I have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My wife, I'm going to ask her. Go to YouTube. We have a channel there with all my lessons. So for young people who want to have an idea what the training involves, you can watch those videos and they will give you an idea of what the cockpit is like with the instructor's voice, ATC, and so on. So stay tuned. God bless, and see you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.